Um, for how many years have you been a judge?
Well, I've been a judge since the 1st of January 2009,
And that makes it how many
about
years?
six
About
and a half years, 6 years.
six and a
Yes.
half
Yeah.
years. And is it fair to say that you still have a long way to go before you retire?
I suppose so, unless the Almighty decides otherwise.
Well, that won't be retirement. And share your leadership vision for the division with us.
Chief Justice, I've been prior to joining the bench. I was an attorney for almost 15 years. But before that, I worked for legal services at the University of Zululand, where I met the late J.P. Msimang, and after finishing my LLB and doing it at night, of course, because we had to work during the day, I joined his firm at Peter Marisbeck, which is.
I can't hear clearly. If
Yes.
you could speak up a
Okay.
bit and
Yes,
speak into
I
the mic.
joined. In fact, he coerced me into joining his firm, which is Msimang Russian company. Then, in 1994, well, I qualified as an attorney, and we amalgamated with Shepston and Wally Tomlinson in the same firm in Peter Marisbeck, which was obviously a big firm. As the years go by, I became one of the partners in the firm. And obviously, as a partner, you take responsibility in the management position. I became part of the executive committee in the firm, which made sure that the firm is run smoothly at all material times, and that we don't find ourselves at odds with the law society. Yeah. Then the firm changed its name into Tomlinson Mnguni James later on, because we were part of the Shepston and Walling families, but we decided to go on our own and change the name to Tomlinson Mnguni James. Even at that point, I was still a senior partner in the firm, and also entrusted with a leadership position and being a member of executive committee in the firm. I then, in 2008, well, before that, I was approached by the retired Judge President Shaulala to come and do acting in the High Court, which later on was he requested me to make myself available, which I did, and I then joined the bench.
May I just be of
Yeah.
help to myself?
Yeah.
It is, where do you see yourself taking the division? What are the challenges? What solution are you going to bring?
Yes.
To bring about? That's the leadership vision that I had in mind when I posed the question.
The difficulty that I had when I joined the bench, I found that because I was also in the liaison committee of the Peter Marisbeck Law Society, dealing mainly with the High Court matters. I found that we as attorneys and advocates will often complain about the services that we get in High Court. Then, when I joined the bench, the JP Shabalala and Msimang requested me to be part of the committee which will try and resolve the problems that the High Court was facing at the time, or the challenges. Let me say the challenges. And I became, immediately after my appointment, became part of that. And the Chief Justice will realize from the CV that, even though I was one of the junior judges at the time, when the heads of court decided that a committee be formed which will try and see whether they can source, source acting judges, I became part of that committee, despite the fact that I had only almost a year in the bench. So I've been involved in the leadership since then. I've been, as the Chief Justice would say, I been involved in many committees in the running of the court, which is one of them being the Human Resources Committee, which would deal with people on almost on a daily basis. And with that, in mind, I think I have acquired necessary skills to know how the courts should deal with problems or challenges that the High Court finds itself facing.
Chief Justice,
Well-
can I just come in? Sorry, I know it's not done, but you normally do it very well. I think the candidate is not well settled.
Yes.
Yeah, and if we can't help him to settle, we'll have a
Well,
problem.
I think my mistake was to assume that because they are experienced judges applying for a leadership position like Gyanda and Madondo, he was settled. But I think we should start there. We're not the same.
Yes, thank you.
You acted as Deputy Judge President for how long?
Well, my acting stint started on the 25th of January, until it's going to end on the 30th of April.
This year.
This year, yes.
So it January last year or this year?
This year, sorry, this year.
Yes. And were you comfortable playing that leadership role?
Well, more than comfortable, in the sense that, as I said earlier on, I've been involved in the running of the courts,
Yes.
although at limited level. So there was nothing new that in fact I couldn't overcome.
Yes.
So the difficulties, I was aware of the difficulties that we face as a division. So it was much easier for me to step in and try to resolve whatever problems I come across.
Did you participate in the activities of the Provincial Efficiency Enhancement Committee or not? I know it is the primary responsibility of the Judge President.
I had not been, not yet. I was not given that opportunity.
Yes.
Yes.
And in the course of acting for this short period, what problems, for instance, did you pick up that require attention, whether it's an issue of reserve judgments and how to deal with them, whether it is an issue of access to justice, in terms of circuit courts and so on, or the proficiency in languages by interpreters. What kind of problems did you pick up that you think
Chief Justice,
require attention going forward? Issues like ensuring that there is proper gender representation and what could be done to ensure that there are more women, not only in the KwaZulu-Natal division of the High Court, but throughout the country. What can be done? How can people be encouraged to prepare themselves at some stage for assimilation into the High Court system? And what sort of challenges, for instance, in the relationships between judges have you picked up, and how do you think they can be addressed? I'm just giving examples that might not apply to KZN, but just to give you an example of problems that might have arisen, that you might have thought about, and how to address them.
see, I'm not sure. The Chief Justice referred earlier on to a provincial efficiency enhancement committee. What I came across when I was acting, I, in a way, thought to myself that if I look at Section 8, Subsection 4C of the Superior Court Act, we don't seem to be doing what that that section wants us to do.
Just remind us all what it is about.
Yes, that section deals with gives the judge president responsibilities to coordinate the responsibilities of the judicial functions of all courts, which in this instance specifically also refers to the magistrate courts. I hear the Chief Justice has referred to the Provincial Efficiency Committee, but I haven't come across a committee which deals directly with the office of the Judge President in relation to that section.
If I may be of help, before we even changed the name, Judge President Yapi was in charge of that committee. I
Yes.
know because when I was conducting workshops around the country, still based in Mahikeng, with some American judge on that aspect, he was in charge of it. He has been in charge of it.
Yes.
He's involved in it even at the national level.
Yes.
It brings together all the key role players in the justice system to tackle the challenges that inhibits performance. So that is being that is happening.
Yes, but my concern is that there isn't any committee which deals specifically with issues relating to the relationship between the office of the office of the Judge President and the magistrates.
No, it is that committee that is chaired by the Judge President that deals with those issues.
Oh,
it exists. It has been in
it-
existence for years now.
Yes.
Yes.
It's one of the issues. But when it comes to the issue of transformation, I've mentioned earlier on that I've been, since 2010 at some point involved as a member of the committee which deals with the, identifying acting judges. I know the problems insofar as the issue of females is concerned. The problem being that it is difficult to source, especially those females who are busy in private practice because they don't find it attractive to join the bench. But I think we need to have somehow have a committee within ourselves, because also what becomes apparent when the person is acting is that sometimes it doesn't get the necessary assistance. That is one factor which drives them away from coming to the bench to act. And I think we need to have within the structure to have a committee that will assist in alleviating that problem.
Well, how would you deal with it as a leader? Let me tell you what I do at the Constitutional Court. It doesn't matter whether you come from the Supreme Court of Appeal or a high court or some specialist court. As soon as you arrive, knowing that you're not familiar
Yes.
with the operations of the court, already at least 2 colleagues are identified to assist,
Yes.
but with the assurance that all other colleagues
Yes.
are also willing to assist.
Yes.
So what system can you come up with, or
That's-
would you suggest to the JP
That's
to
exact-
make that mentorship a reality?
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say, because it doesn't happen in our division that you get assigned to particular judges to try and help you. That I think is very important, because it also, enhances your because, when you're acting, you likely along the way to make mistakes, but you must understand that whatever mistakes you make in that process, it's a mistake of all of us. So in that sense, it is important to assign people to make sure that we try to minimize, the occurrence of that mistake. Yes. Yeah.
JP?
Thank you, Chief Justice. You and I know each other for a long time.
Yes.
When you joined the bench, very early on, I got to know that both Judge President Shabalala and Judge Nsimang relied a lot on your help.
Yeah.
Is that so?
That is true.
And I know that you were often involved in various committees as far as the High Court was concerned. You may not have been in a leadership position,
Yes.
but you were involved, one, in the liaison committee
Yes.
with the attorneys.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
You are also on the committee dealing with acting judges.
JP, maybe he should tell us what his involvement
Yes.
is, because that may be misunderstood
see.
as some
Yes,
kind
yes,
of
yes.
No, I
leading
want-
question designed to make the path smoother for him.
Definitely, I've been involved in a number of committees, as the JP has indicated. One of the key committee which I was requested to serve on was the committee that relates to the case flow management. In fact, when the reason why I was invited to join that committee is because when I was still in private practice, I dealt with, among other things, mainly the road accident fund matters. And they seem to cause problems with by clocking up the court roll. So we then came together and as committee members, see whether we could come with a solution, try and resolve that problem at the level of the case flow management committee. As a result of that, we came up with a directive which has helped us as the court to resolve matters relating to the, especially, it was initially designed for the RAF letters, but as the time went on, we also use it in other civil matters. And which is helpful, because now if you ask me today to allocate you a date in a civil matter, you can get a date in May or June. That has helped. It is as a result of the contribution that I made in relation to that aspect. Also, I know that we have a problem with the criminal matters. We also try to, especially with the JP Msimang, when Shabalala had retired, we also tried to implement the case law management in relation to the criminal matters. What we decided as a committee was that all criminal, before we used to get a calendar or two or three weeks before you go, for instance, on circuit, or you do wherever you're sitting as a court. But we said to ourselves that, look, in order for us to be able to facilitate and try and see that when the judges go out on circuits, they have work to do, we have to try and do the case flow management at a central level, which in that instance meant that the judge president, with my assistance, will deal with the matters. And if we feel, of course, we'll have to invite all the legal representatives, including the NPA, to make sure that when you send a judge, for instance, out at Mtuba to do the circuit court, the matter will immediately start on the first day of the circuit. Not that you'll have to wait and say and ask for time to consult and do all those things, because we find that all those things were time consuming. And we implemented this. Unfortunately, the system was not implemented after the JP Msimang passed away, and I believe that it's one of the systems that we have to bring back to make sure that you don't send a judge out unless you know that the judge is going to be working in that circuit. Yeah.
I thought the JP is implementing judicial case management that facilitates exactly that.
We have, but you see, the problem is when you're leaving it to the individual judges, it becomes a problem, because it doesn't get done properly. Some of the judges don't do it properly. That's why I believe we have to do it at a standard level, so that you know, when you tell the NPA that, look, I'm not giving you a judge unless I'm satisfied that when I send the judge out, the judge will have some work to do at the circuit.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Let me get to the hard questions. The division as such is now obliged to enforce norms and standards.
Yes.
Yes. What can you, as the DJP, do to ensure that the judges comply and stick to the norms and standards?
Yes, I just forgot the article, but I had a look at an article where they're talking about the energy that the Chief Justice is putting on that aspect. And I thought to myself, if you want to have, or you want to assume the position of the DJP, you need to have that energy to make sure that not only at High Court level, because it is also responsibility of the JP to deal with matters relating to the Magistrate Court to make sure that everything goes smoothly, or to coordinate, as they put it. It is also important to get someone who's going to go down in the trenches and make sure that the work is done at that level.
Well, how would you go about doing that?
You know, in my view, I've already referred to the committee that is in existence. But I honestly think that if you want to have effective, if you want to introduce the effective way of dealing with this aspect, you need to do more. You need to have more, communication with the president of the Magistrate Court, as well as the chief magistrate in the Magistrate Court.
Yes. Well, let's just stick to the High Court for a minute. How do you get on, or how would you describe your relationship with the rest of the judges?
As far as I know, I have no problem with any of the judges, be it a senior or junior judge
And
division.
as a DJP, to some extent, you would have to lead from the front, as it is often said, and you would have to be a mentor to other judges, particularly junior judges. Do you think you can do that?
JP, I had already, I'm doing that at a level of the participating through the committees that I'm involved in. But in any event, if you as a DJP, you allocate work, and it is difficult for me to accept that you can allocate a file to a judge without knowing, you as a DJP, what is going on in that file, which basically means that for each and every file that comes to you, you've got to at least go through the file and know the complexities involved in that particular file. That it will also ties in with the fact that you also have to know the strengths and weaknesses of the judges that you have.
Now, of the three candidates that have now applied for the DJP's position, you are the, well, most junior, if I may put it.
Yeah.
So, do you think that that would be a hindrance in the event of you getting the position?
On my side, I don't think so. In fact, if you look at the history, from my history, right at the outset when I joined the High Court as a judge, I've been involved in the committees that are set out in the questionnaire, and none of the senior or junior judges had objected to that. And if you look at, especially the committee that deals with the appointment of acting judges, is a very crucial committee, but none of the judges objected to that.
The last aspect that I want to deal with is the question of collegiality amongst the judges. What role do you think you can play as far as that is concerned?
Well, I think, the JP will know that when I say we, because when we joined the bench, it was quite a number of us. I think we were about five of us who were appointed during that year, almost at the same time. And, when we arrived at High Court, we found that, the judges had a tendency of, not mingling, and it was if you make a noise, it was a sin. So we then started engaging with them and say, but look, we have to be seen like, as ordinary citizens of this country and behave in the manner that an ordinary human being will behave. We don't have to, all the time have that in mind that you are a judge. So you can't do this, you can't laugh, you can't do just minor things. And that actually worked to such an extent that they at some point, some senior judges will say that if you want to find out, for instance, I'll make an example, Judge Stein, you've got to try and go out on the corridor and listen to where you hear the noise. Judge Stein and Judge Mnguni and other judges will be there, because we felt that it is important for us to at a social level to socialize, and we also try to form a social club for the judges, so that we can go out and enjoy ourselves as judges. And yeah.
One last question, and it's a simple one. If you are given the position as a DJP, do you think you can do the job?
Well, judging by what JP have been doing since January this year, I don't foresee any problems in doing the job.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you, JP. Premier?
Thank you very much, Chief Justice. Firstly, from what you have said, acting from January up to now and a couple of days left in this month, what have you come across that would have prepared you for this position of DJP?
Suprema, I've already said that I've been involved in a number of committees. Some of these matters that you come across in those committees, and it takes you time to come up with solutions. It is much easier when we are in the management to make sure that you have those matters resolved. Let me just give you an example, Suprema. We have a problem with the issue of interpreters. I also happen to sit in that committee. My problem is that when you want an interpreter, they will tell you that they will advertise the post at level 5, which becomes a problem for us as a High Court, because it will then mean that you will have to get an interpreter without any experience. Anyone can apply. Because so in High Court, at that level of the High Court, you don't need a person who's still going to teach how to do the job. You need someone who's going to fit in and do the job straight away. And I mentioned that to Dr. Moshe, that we have a problem. We've got to try and see whether you at least you don't put the interpreters at level 7. And I'm sure they're still working on that. That's one example, because I believe if you have someone from the street, it definitely will compromise the justice system and the fairness of the trial, especially to someone who doesn't know the language. Yeah.
Second question, as a judge, what has tried you? What has tested you in the past, from 2009 to now? Things that you really, really feel
That
have
you can
tested you and have tried you.
Yes.
And you have been told that, look, these have tried you and you believe, and these have tested you and you believe in it.
I think what I find it difficult is that we don't seem to go out of, the office does not seem to go out of itself to the peripherals,
If you
live.
could speak up, please, Judge Mnguni.
Okay.
I couldn't.
Okay. We don't seem to go out, to come out of this office and go to the peripheries of life in order to meet the marginalized and the previously excluded in the system.
No, fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. That is what
Yeah.
you don't do, as far as you.
Yes.
But I'm just talking about you. from 2009, since
You
you
mean
were
the
appointed as a
challenges,
judge, no, you, not as judges,
Yes.
you in particular. What do you believe has tested you and tried? I'm saying from an ordinary point of view,
Yeah.
from being a youngster up to now, I always, you have a particular understanding of judges.
Judges, yes.
It entails some imagination of having been tried and tested. Now, I want this thing from you. What is it that you believe has tried you and has tested you? In other words, in a way, preparing you for what you have applied for, to be specific.
Well, basically, it's the journey that I went through when in my education, because I, unfortunately, when I finished my matric, I didn't have money to go to the university. And out of the blue, I was helped by a family, a Mnguni family, which put me through to the university for 3 years. And that is why in my CV, I mentioned that, I also worked for them as in the hardware shop as a manager. So those are the difficulties that we faced in our life. But also coming to the bench, it's a bit different from having your own company, where you associate with yourselves with people who are like-minded. You come across people who you have never met before, but you expected to work with them. And at the end of the day, you have to find a way and a solution of how do you deal with those personalities, because they're different personalities. We've never come across them before.
All right. My third question is, when you responded to the question of committees,
Yes.
I got an impression that you are not aware of the committee that is chaired by Judge President that addresses exactly what you were concerned about. And I didn't seem to, even when the Chief Justice was following up on that question, I didn't seem to find the reason why you don't seem to have been aware of that particular committee.
No, I'm aware of the committee, but I believe, that's what I believe, it doesn't deal with the pertinent issues relating to the courts, the relationship between the court, the office of the Judge President and the offices of the magistrate, be it the president of the magistrate or the chief magistrate or the district court.
So the committee is there,
Is
it's,
there,
it's
but-
just that there's an omission on a
Yes.
particular task.
On a particular task, that's why I have a problem.
Okay. The next question is, other than what you indicate in your CV as leadership role
Yes.
in committees, you're now acting as a DJP. What other leadership role have you played in society? Just from outside of your current,
Yes.
yeah.
As Prima will see, I'm also a member of St. Vincent de Paul Society, which is actively involved in helping the indigent people with other legal advice or with any other thing that we can help with.
Sorry, Judge Mnguni, I couldn't hear. You are also
Yes.
a member of?
Of this.
If you could shift the mic like this because you speak from this side. No, just tilt it
Okay.
so that it can capture your voice.
Yes. So I'm saying, Chief Justice, that I'm a member of the St. Vincent de Paul Society, which tries and help the indigent people in the church. Yeah.
Okay. The last question is, how would you enhance the integrity of the division if you get appointed integrity, the standing.
Yes. You see, that's precisely why I said earlier on I have a problem with that committee, because I don't believe there's enough interaction between the heads of court. When I say the heads, I'm talking about the chief magistrate, the president of the regional courts, and the JP. It is important when Prima delivers his speech, on the 26th of February. He mentioned that the people have, lost trust in the judiciary system or criminal justice system. Those are the words that you use. That's precisely why I believe we have to go out and do more to restore that relationship, because people must believe that the courts are there to help them to resolve their differences. Once you lose that trust, obviously you're working on an empty shell.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
But isn't it your experience that sometimes even leaders, when they say the judiciary, they mean even the police, and the prosecuting authority, we are just one thing. Is that not your experience?
Well, it's true to a certain degree.
Yes.
But Chief Justice, I think that's why we have to try, because I think we're now in the new era of which came into being because of the fact that we have a separate office of the Chief Justice. We have to try, go an extra mile to defend our integrity as the office of the Chief Justice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you'll be resolutions were taken. Just talk to the JP after this on Saturday already.
Yes.
About how we'll deal with that, even this fraud that is taking place in relation to court orders and so on. So you'll see more. Commissioner Fori.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Some of which I wanted to canvass with you has already been dealt with, Judge. Good morning.
Yes, sir.
Just your professional career, I just want to make sure that I understand. You've been an attorney for 14 years.
Yes, about 14 to 15.
And you were a director
Yes.
of a big firm in Pietermaritzburg and on the executive committee of that firm. And then you became a judge on the 1st of January 2009.
Yes, sir.
So you've been a judge for just in excess of 7 years.
Yes.
Where does that put you in the seniority levels of your division?
It's difficult for me to say, but I didn't check because we have a system where you can easily check and tell that your number so and so. Unfortunately, I didn't check that, but I can assure you that.
Are you more or less in the middle, or are you?
I think just above the middle. Yeah, just above.
You've
the
already
middle,
said in answer to a question by the Judge President that you don't see that as a problem.
No.
To fulfill your duties.
No,
as
I don't see it
Deputy
as a
Judge
problem.
President. I won't canvass that further. I just want to canvass one further aspect with you. You've been on 4 committees since you've been appointed as a judge, and you're still on those committees.
Yeah.
One of which is the appointment of acting judges.
Yes.
Can you just tell me, what does that committee do?
It's the work that
I know what the committee says, but
Yes.
how do you go about it to appoint acting judges?
we come together and see. Firstly, you try and deal with, depending in which direction you want to go. If you want to go to the advocates, because you must also remember we have limited spaces for acting judges. You don't get so probably 2 in a session. So you've got to decide exactly, having looked at the role that you have, how heavy it is. You've got to decide what sort of person you want to help you in respect of that.
Perhaps I can narrow.
Yes,
my
I think it's
question.
better if you. Yeah.
One of the previous candidates that we interviewed this morning said there's a particular challenge to get women to act in KZN, and despite appeals and requests to many organizations, it remains a challenge. Do you agree with that, one? And two, if so, what does your committee do to effectively deal with that?
Partially I do, but you see, the problem is, as a committee, we always had to dig deep to get the people that we want to be appointed as acting judges. I'll make an example. When we came in January 2009, we only had one African female judge. It was Judge Mnguni. We only had one, but within a space of about 2-3 years, we managed to get at least 4 female judges. So that tells you that you've got to dig deep and have, because you have this in the interest of justice. You want to transform the bench. You have to dig deep and try to go out and find those.
And do you find them as a committee?
You do, if you dig deep. You do. I know it's a challenge, but if you go an extra mile, you do get.
And are you satisfied that your committee does everything in its power to achieve that?
Yes, I'm satisfied that we're doing it. I know it is enough to attract the top, let me put it that way, the top female advocates to join us because of the money that they make. But within those challenges, we're able to find competent people to fill in the positions.
Thanks. I would have liked to ask more questions, but I think I've reached my limit, Chief Justice.
There are
Thank you.
others. There are others, Commissioner. Commissioner Helens.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Judge, I want you to imagine that your JP is away, say, on long leave, and now you're running the division.
Yeah.
And you've got a judge that's had, say, 8 judgments over 3 months, which have been reserved, and some of them are 5, 6, 7 months, one's a year. There have been complaints from the attorneys which have been directed to you. What would you do?
You see, there are 2 ways of dealing with that. The first one is to approach the judge and find out exactly what the problems are relating to that particular judge not delivering the judgment. But also, you have to, as a manager, you have to bear in mind that you have a responsibility to try and help that particular judge.
Yes, but so what do you do?
What you do, you try and find out exactly what is the problem. If he tells you what the problem is, you try and assist, and if it is within the session, you try and see whether you depending on the agency of those judgments, see whether you can get 1 or 2 days for him to do that judgment and report to you within those days that he has done the judgments that are outstanding.
But on the scenario I'm painting to you, he hasn't come to you or to the JP to say, look, I've got these problems which are preventing me from delivering justice within a reasonable time. You're going to him and asking him, why have you not delivered justice within a reasonable time? Do you take such a soft approach, say, Judge, what's holding up the judgment? Can anything hold up a judgment, barring illness, death, something tragic? Can anything hold up a judgment as long as that? And is such a soft approach, I'm suggesting to you it's a soft approach, appropriate?
I don't think so, because as I said, you have a responsibility as a manager to find out exactly what is going wrong in that particular judge, and also you have the mechanisms to report the judge to the JSC.
Well, that's why I'm asking
Yes.
you. What would you do?
That's why I said I would firstly investigate why has it taken such a long time for that particular judge to deliver the judgment, and if I'm not satisfied, because there might be a reason. Let me throw this to you. If, for instance, there is an aspect on which he has invited, counsel to address him further on, you just can't report that as long as that was done timelessly, and the counsel are aware that they have to arrange a time to deal with that issue which the judge has raised. Because sometimes the issue when you start writing a judgment, the issue crops up, and the issue which hasn't been addressed during argument, and you are bound to, before deciding, to give opportunity to the judge to, give opportunity to counsel to deal with that issue. But other than that, the only way that you can deal with, because of norms and standards, you have to report the judge. Simple as that.
No, but you know, it's not after 3 months that you report.
It's after
no?
6 months.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Helens. Commissioner Ntsebeza.
Thank you, Chief Justice. 2 questions, Judge. The first one is, what is your view about the allocation of judges to the Second Circuit Court
Yes.
In terms of seniority of judges, demographics, etc., etc.?
Yes.
It's a question I've put to the other judges.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Honestly, I believe that each and every one of us should do a circuit court. I know that as a judge president and deputy judge president, it will be difficult for you to go on circuit. But ideally, because if you keep on sending the same people, let me make an example, African judges to Matateni, for instance, you're creating an impression that that particular court is only good for African judges. You see, so you've got to get everyone to participate in the process, because we're trying to build the new society. Yeah.
Now, second question. Thank you, Judge. Second question came from the KZN Bar Council, which includes the AFT, and I've been putting it to the other judges on the basis that the AFT has made that comment. And they have been supportive of all of you 3 judges who have made yourselves available for this position.
Yes.
There is a remark that has been made by that KZN Bar Council, and it is to this effect. Judge Gyanda is an Indian male. The division is headed by a colored male. Now, is this something that we should take into account? If so, why? If not so, why not?
I believe so. Because it ties in with the answer I gave earlier on, that when you keep sending particular judges, of African judges, for instance, to a circuit court, you're creating an impression that that court is only good for those judges. In the same way that if you don't involve African people in the administration of the courts, you obviously will create that impression that they are not good enough to administer the big offices like the High Court.
Thank you, Judge President.
Thank you, Professor. No, it's Commissioner Nyambi.
Thank you. I'll link it with the last question. In a situation where you have a white candidate and an African one, and the white one is exceptionally good in terms of performance, interview, and the CV, how can you deal with that situation, if you can advise us?
But invariably, you don't have to look at that only. You have to look at other factors which might persuade you into taking that decision as to who to appoint in that position, because that's what the Constitution demands of us. Yeah.
Yes.
Which in fact you look at the racial composition, the gender issues. All those issues speaks to you as they come directly from the Constitution.
No, I'm very specific.
Yes.
I'm saying we're in a situation we have 2.
Yes.
The white one and the black one.
Yes.
Qualifications are almost the same, but the performance, the African one, it's below the expectations. How can we deal with that?
When you say below the par, because if it is below the par,
Yeah.
I don't think we should appoint a person, because at the end of the day, it is the integrity of the judiciary which is at stake. But if his performance is fine, except that he has some certain limitations, you then resort to the constitution.
I'm interested in unity in the division.
Yes.
Have you had some discussions with other candidates before coming here about this process?
No, I didn't have. We mean in what way? As to whether they try to persuade me to support me in the appointment?
It's a specific question. Have you discussed the possibility of any outcomes of this process with the other candidate? Because we are from the same division?
Or you mean your candidate? We have, in fact, we always joke about it, even at tea, that whoever wins, that the best person win. It's simple as that. Not with the idea of trying to solicit support from any other person.
The last one, share with us your understanding of judicial accountability.
See, that's exactly what I spoke about earlier on. That, if as judges of the division, we have the norms and standard which we have to try and comply with. If you look at the norms and standards, they speak to the accountability and independence of the judiciary. So you've got to try and stick to that.
Thank you, CJ.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Nyambi. Commissioner Malema.
Morning, Judge.
Morning.
My first question this morning is about this environment here.
Yes.
How do you find it? Is it intimidating? Is it friendly?
Well, it did initially until we intervened.
I'm worried I haven't seen an improvement even after my intervention.
Yeah.
What is wrong, Judge?
No, there's nothing wrong with Mr. Malema.
So you find these cameras, the public, the judges here, everyone else, so welcoming. Is this conducive for you to give us the best of you in this interview?
It's in a way it does intimidate you because you're facing about 23 people. It does intimidate you, and more so when you see cameras. It's.
On a lighter note, wait until they interview you for the position of Chief Justice.
Well, why would a judge who's applying for, and I will ask for the indulgence of the Chief Justice, because the other two judges, we didn't spend much time on them because we spoke to them before. But
yes.
You are coming here,
Yeah.
especially for this position for the first time. Why would a judge who's applying for a position of leadership get so easily intimidated like that? Because you're going to have to preside over senior judges.
Yes.
Some of them you looked up to them. Some of them you admired them. Some are junior and all the, and you have to show leadership at all times, at all material times. When you are a leader, you must show leadership.
Yeah, that is quite correct, but you must also bear in mind that you come to an environment which you're not familiar with. So there's always going to have, we have that, it's always going to test you, irrespective of how confident you are.
Now, I want you to just be specific.
Yeah.
In the KwaZulu-Natal division.
Yeah.
What are the challenges?
I've already mentioned one challenge that we don't, as an office, we don't seem to go out to the people and make sure that service delivery is taking place.
No, I'm not talking about those things. So
Yeah.
going to the people is our responsibility as politicians.
Yeah.
You as a DJP, what are the challenges in the courts? Some person was saying here toilets are not working, and other people were giving themselves an opportunity to go and fix toilets there. Now, what are the challenges? The aircons are not working, windows are not opening, the cleaners don't clean the courts, the judges don't give judgments in time. What? And the Chief Justice tried to ask you that question, and you keep on giving, not so satisfying answer. We want to know about the court. We are not in Natal. I come from the rural province of Limpopo. So I want you to give us the picture of what are the problems in KwaZulu-Natal.
No, indeed, we have challenges, for instance, with the court, cleaning of the court and all those. But, having said that, well, I don't think they will hinder you as a judge in performing your function. To a limited degree, they may, but if you're serious about your work, I don't see why I should not sit in court when the air conditioner is not working. For instance, I had an occasion of us using the Durban Magistrate Court because we didn't have enough space. As we had a problem, we were sitting on the ninth floor, and the court orderlies refused to bring the accused up to us in the ninth floor. We wanted to do the work. We came up with a plan that, look, you have enough police officers here. Fortunately, most of the witnesses were police officers. This is what we're going to do. I said to them, please, gentlemen, can you assist us? Because we want to finish the matter. That two of you walk in front of the accused using the stairs, and obviously you have to give your firearms to the people at the back. And the two people at the back take the four of you take the accused to the court so that we can deal with the court. So those are things that really, even though they have an impact on the justice system, but they can't prevent you as a judge from sitting and doing the case.
When I took this platform, I said to a colleague of mine, I want to help you, but you can't help yourself. I'm not. You're answering a question I'm not asking.
Yes.
I'm asking, Judge, what are the challenges? For a moment, just leave yourself.
Yeah.
And give us the challenges of KwaZulu-Natal division. What I didn't say the aircons are not working. I was giving an example, or maybe that may be one of the challenges. So I'm just saying, just give us, let's simplify it. Can you give us 6 challenges in KwaZulu-Natal division?
Yeah. The first one is that we have lost one female judge to the Limpopo province. We have to try and get, a person to replace her. Unfortunately, it seems that we're not increasing the number of the African judges in the bench. We seem to be replacing, keep on replacing the African judges with African judges. So the number is not increasing. I say this because in September, an African judge retired. We've got to try and get, because if we get someone else, the numbers of the African judges on the bench will be reduced automatically. So those are the things. I think we have to go an extra mile, see whether we can get judges, African judges, especially females, to our bench.
Judge, I was going to ask you a vision. You can't give me a vision if you don't know challenges. Now, the last question is, your inability to speak to questions here and the fact that you continue to appear like you are unsettled and all those type of things, does that have to do with your seniority? Does it come as a result of your inexperience and you're so junior that you are unable to come across as a person who's readily available to take leadership in that institution?
I don't think so. That's not true. So administration is a totally different ball game. Yeah.
So what is the disadvantage of appointing a what is the advantage of appointing a junior judge? I mean, we dealt with 2 senior judges
Yes.
before you.
Yeah.
What advantage do we have in appointing you? You know, I'm not in the legal fraternity,
Yes.
but you know very well that in the legal fraternity, seniority and all
Yes.
those issues matters a lot. How do you even want to compete with your seniors like that? Because normally these people are given some form of respect, and if they come before you, you always like, let's give them chance. They are left with 7 years, they are left with 8 years. In 8 years' time, I will be more prepared to take over leadership. Unless you're saying you're bringing something exceptional, which we can't find in these 2 senior judges which came before you. I mean, do you think you can be Obama of that KwaZulu-Natal division?
You see, that's precisely what I was trying to say, that if you have, the advantage that I have is that I'm younger, I still have a long way to go. And whatever vision, because we have, with the judge president, we must have a shared vision. If I still have it, the JP will live, and I still have to carry that vision forward.
Thank you, Commissioner Malema. Commissioner Singh?
Thank you. I just want to follow on that last question of Commissioner Malema. And I note, Judge, good day to you, that you've
Yes,
been
thank you.
nominated by the Center for Legal
Yes.
Services and the Black
Yeah.
Lawyers Association.
Yeah.
And the Black Lawyers Association make a point of saying he has matured as a judge despite his relatively young age.
Yes.
Now, I just want to follow up on what Commissioner Malema said. Do you think this age factor is a plus for you? It's a negative for you? Given that, if you are appointed, you've got to hit the road running. There's no time for a learning curve and so on and so forth. So that's the first question.
That's why precisely, I really think because of my involvement with the workings of the court right from the outset, I am well equipped to take over and run the division in the event of the JP deciding to retire. Because I know exactly what is going, what challenges we're facing, how to deal with them.
Okay, and then my last question, Chief Justice, through you. When I look at your references, I note that one of your referees is Dr. Donald Mnguni,
Yes.
who I know quite well. He's a
Yeah.
businessman. What would be the reason for Dr. Mnguni to be a referee for you?
Because, both of them with the late Judge Msimang, they shared one vision, and one vision only. That's a black excellency.
But here there's Dr. Mnguni now. I mean, what is his link with you? Do you have any links with him? Have you have you acted for him? Or because
No, I haven't. I've never acted for him.
But he is one of your referees,
Yes.
and I suppose with referees, you ask them to be your referees. They don't just come up.
Yeah, because no. Because if you ask him, he'll give you an honest opinion about me. Yeah.
So just follow. So you asked him to be a referee in this case?
No. Well, he knows that in my CV I mentioned his name, because if you want an honest opinion about myself, he will get it from him. Yeah.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you, Commissioner Singh. Commissioner Nokesi?
Thank you, Chief Justice. I just have 2 questions, really. I could see that when you asked about the PEECs,
Yes.
and the fact that your JP is actually participating,
Yes.
you were rather shocked. You were not sure. You're not sure that your JP is actually in that structure.
No. I'm sure that he's in that structure. That's why I made a distinction. I said, to me, that structure doesn't deal with pertinent issues relating to the relationship between the office of the JP and the heads of court, be it the president of the regional court or the chief magistrate. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Judge.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong, you can correct me. The Chief Justice it was the Chief Justice who actually said to you, no, your Chief. It is the Chief Justice who draw your attention about the presence. No, otherwise, you are not sure.
No. I mentioned specifically that I am aware that there is that committee, but I don't think that in the relationship that we intend to have, with as set out in the superior courts, it's achieving the purpose. That's what I said.
Okay, no problem. And then what is the PECs? I further heard you saying that, well, there's a need for a committee where the heads of court, president of regional courts and chief magistrate must be present. Am I right? You said other than the PECs, you need a structure where the president of the regional court and the chief magistrate must be present.
Yes. You see, that structure is very important. You must bear in mind that, one of the challenges that we have is that it is difficult for us to get female judges on board. And you'll find that in regional courts, you've got quite a number of female presiding officers, judicial officers, who, if you have that relationship, it might be much easier for you to get assistance from the president of that court.
Yeah. My point exactly, because in the PECs, which is an emphasis, the presidents of regional courts, chief magistrates, head of arrest division, judge president, they sit in that structure. So the structure that you propose, I do not know, but whether you know exactly the PECs.
No, I know.
Problem.
I know. You see, the problem, that's the structure we have right now, is that it involves all the stakeholders. I'm saying at a level of where you would want to source judges from the regional courts, from the district court, you need to have a constant communication with the judge, with the president of the regional courts, and the chief magistrate of magistrate courts.
Yeah. What do you understand of the assignment of duties by the judge president to the deputy in terms of the act? Thank you.
Well, insofar as relating to the functions that the judge president does, automatically you have to deal with the issues that the JP will have to assign you to do. But also, you are placed in a position where you personally have to go out with the assistance of the JP and try to identify people that you would want to bring on board to act. Because you're part of the committee that appoints acting judges.
Commissioner Mutimele.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Good morning, Judge.
Morning.
The National Efficiency and Enhancement Committee, it's a very important transformative structure put in place compared to the old heads of courts meeting. Now, in order to make sure that it achieves what it sets out to achieve and addresses the evil that it is intended to address, how would you propose that its minutes, the decision taken there, are shared with the division and also afford the division the opportunity to fit in through the JP and interrogate what is discussed there?
Yes, it's a very key committee. That's why I say, if you make a decision in that committee, you've got to be able to disseminate that whatever information that committee deals with to the judges, so that, because we must understand here that we're looking at having, a single judiciary. You can't have a situation where people speak with both ends of their mouth. We must speak to the, about the single judiciary, which will deal with the problem in that fashion. And that's why it is important that there is a constant communication between that committees and the divisions, as well as the magistracy.
Simply put, does the JP share the minutes of that committee with the judges in the division and ask for their views?
Yes, it does. It does. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Mutimele. Commissioner Modise.
Thank you, CJ. I don't know if it is afternoon, Judge, but good day, sir.
Good day.
It's noon. Just one question. You, earlier on responding to the first set of questions put to you, you you conveyed a sense of unease. You said that you need to behave like ordinary people of the country.
Yes.
You also said that you feel you don't get the opportunity to go to the periphery.
Yes.
Now that worries me because I don't understand what you mean by going to the periphery. You also said you do not socialize, and therefore, there's a need for you as judges to socialize. Now, one of your colleagues earlier on did say that on certain days you come together, you have tea together,
Yes.
you then meet as judges and you share information.
Yes.
Is that the socializing that you are referring to?
No. We had a committee, a social club as judges where we'll, for instance, try and arrange lunch at a certain restaurant, or we'll all go there and have lunch and together as judges. Yeah.
You see, my unease comes to maybe being a lay person looking at the judiciary. You expect them to behave in a certain manner.
Yes.
You do not expect, for instance, to see Judge Egigin.
Yeah.
You do not expect to see Judge so open and socializing in such a manner that they can be lobbied.
No, that is definitely
So
not.
if ungayicacisa nje, what is the socializing that you want as a judge?
Well, we as judges, we socialize and share ideas about our work. Not that we go to the to the nightclubs, and we don't do that. I mean, I didn't mean to say that. Unfortunately, if that seemed to be what I was conveying, I'm sorry about it. Yeah.
Thank you, Chairperson. Commissioner Didiza.
Sawubona mahluleli wendlu yenkulu enkantolo yomthetho yaKwaZulu-Natal babe Mnguni.
Yebo sanibona.
Usaphila.
Ngiyaphila.
Ngikubingelela ngesiZulu ngoba ngiyabona la ukuthi cha kuthiwa ngokwezolimi ngokusho kweBLA you are on point.
Yeah.
I read the recommendation from BLA and on the interpretation committee which you are part of.
Yes.
They say you make sure that, or rather the committee deals with ensuring that the language service are on point.
Yes. Yeah.
And as you know that language development, particularly isiZulu and some of the African languages, have not been at a speed at which we want to,
Yes.
and at times we use what we call amabizo mfagelwa, which are taken from the English language or Afrikaans in particular. And at times, translating technical terms becomes difficult.
Yes.
What has your committee been doing such that BLA can say you are on point to ensure that some of these challenges that emanate from translation, as it does at times, are dealt with? And also, how would you ensure that some of the people whose mother tongue may not necessarily be isiZulu or mother tongue not being Afrikaans will be able to be helped, particularly when they preside, to also on their own be able to have this on point proficiency when it comes to language?
The reason why that committee was set up is because of, as I said earlier on, that we had a problem because when the post of language practitioners are advertised, they seem to attract, or they advertise at a level of level 5, which becomes a problem, because in that way you're likely to attract people who have no experience from interpreting, because that's in essence that's what the court wants from whoever is interpreting before. So we then decided that, look, because if we don't get people who would be helpful to the court. We're going to compromise the justice system. So let's have this committee, which will, when we get, or when the post becomes available, we have certain requirements that we would want those people to meet before they can be recommended to assist in interpreting in High Court. But of course, there are challenges because of the staff shortages. Sometimes you'll get, people or interpreters or language practitioners, as they are called these days, on contract basis, which becomes a problem. Because I personally believe that interpreting is a profession. So you need to have suitably qualified people, in the profession, so that they can also take pride of the profession that they are in. And the problem that we then put the committee in place to make sure that we comply with whatever we set out, the comments that we set out, that will help us in identifying the correct people for the position. Yeah.
As an example, what would be the criteria?
For instance, the first thing that you want a person to write an essay. Yeah, you give them a topic and you write an essay, then they will write an essay. That will help you to determine whether, depending which interpreter you're looking for. It's obvious it's difficult when you're dealing with the, so to speaking, interpreters, and then you look at the performance, you compare, before you invite them for the interviews. At least you know the language or the difficulties that each candidate is likely to face.
Through you, the last question, Judge. Will that essay be a legal essay, if I may call it that way?
Yes, it will deal with certain legal issues that are common to all courts. Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is that the follow-up, Commissioner Malema?
No, Chief Justice, I'm worried, and I want to give the judge an opportunity to explain his relationship with Mukwanas, because he didn't explain it. How do you say this man can speak very well about you, but you don't tell us how you relate with him? Do you do business with him? Did he teach you? How do you know him?
I said earlier on, they helped me when I was studying. It's part of the IR.
He paid for your fees?
Not paid for my fees.
How did he help you?
But a person doesn't have to pay for your fees to help you. With motivation, because he looks for black excellency. That's how we will encourage you. That look, you've got to make sure that you don't, for you to obtain an LP, it's not the end of it. You have to go try and do more.
But how did he do that?
By encouraging me, Mr. Malema.
Chief Justice, maybe through you, maybe if you ask the judge a question, he will answer. How did he encourage you? Did he meet you at a motivational talk or what? I mean, what is your relationship? A judge must be able to define. What is your relationship with this businessman?
I don't have any relationship, except that he is one of my mentors.
He mentored you?
Yes.
You worked with him?
No, I didn't work with him.
How did he mentor you? How did he mentor you? Did you go to class? Did you go to his house? No. Where have you met him?
I said, the three of them. It's Longwane, Msimang, and him, who mentored me with and encouraged me to do what I'm doing now.
How did Mkwanazi mentor you?
I don't know. I've tried to explain.
I would have failed in my constitutional duty to have a judge who can explain how a businessman in your upbringing helped you. I got mentored by a lot of people, including Peter Mukaba.
Yes.
I sat with him in a lot of meetings.
Yes.
I socialized with him. Yes. I sat one-to-one with him.
Yes.
So have you had one-on-one with this Mkwanazi?
A number of times I had.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you visited him in his house?
No, he will come to, but unfortunately, his one of his sons is in Hilton College, so that's how he will. If you come past and we talk about, yeah.
Judge, do you have any business relationship?
No,
with
I don't
Mnguni?
have. I've said I don't have. I honestly, in the same way that I've mentioned Mr. Mvili there, who works for the security.
No, don't divert me. I'm on this one. I'm on Mkwanazi. I'm not interested. You see here, you have mentioned magistrate court. It's reasonable, it's
Yes.
understandable.
Yes.
You have mentioned legal advice. The problem is Donald Mkwanazi. When a person mentors you, especially in the legal fraternity, you either go and work in their office, they take you under their wing, they do all sorts of things. But this relationship is not clearly defined, whether Dr. Mkwanazi came to the college or you saw him many at times when he was visiting the son or anything of that
No,
sort.
you see, he's one of the, let me say this to you. It's, for instance, when I was at university, they would come and address us that, look, this is, explain to us the position in the country and try to encourage us. In the same way that the Deputy Chief Justice will come and address us and try to point out a certain path to us.
But I speak to a lot of people.
Yes.
In the biggest rally I addressed was in the FNB Stadium. Yeah. And somebody get inspired there by me and puts me in the reference. I've never met that person.
No, I'm not saying...
And then that person says to me, Chief Justice, Julius Malema will speak very well of me because he addressed us when he was coming to motivate us.
No, but he knows, I said earlier on, he knows my upbringing.
He knows you?
Yes, where I come from. He
Is
knows.
there any financial relationship between you and him?
I said that long time ago, that he knows, my upbringing.
No, the answer is not clear. I'm not happy. I'm not a happy judge. And
Commissioner Malema, I think we must leave it there.
We shouldn't, Chief. Okay.
No, you've made your point.
I will deliberate.
He'll keep on giving you the same answer. I think deliberations is the first place. Yeah. Yes. You are excused, sir. You are excused.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes.